Corey and Robin sent to you this week. And so if you want to kind of review those questions that were most, either Grams can ask them to you again, or you can tell some of the things that are on your mind that you would like to share first, and then if you need help, ask her for a question.
I don't have them written down in front of me. I just assumed you guys had the questions.
Well, Corey and Robin did send questions, so they can take a turn to ask some questions if they want to.
Okay. I can go ahead and
pulling them up.
Yeah, go ahead and start, Corey, if you got them.
Okay, I got them right here. All right, Grandpa. First question. When and where were you born?
I was born 1923, February the 4th, in Morgantown, Indiana.
Morgan County.
Morgan County and Morgantown.
Okay. Perfect. What is your earliest memory? What's the earliest thing you can remember?
Oh, my.
I'll answer that.
Go ahead.
He was born, when he was born, he came in through the front door dragging a bear.
This was a fantasy of mine. You know, kids have fantasies, and this was my first one, I guess. Because he was no bear. I don't
He
know.
was bear.
I might have been bear, but I don't know where the bear came from. Your mom probably could answer most of these questions. We went over them yesterday.
Look. Yes.
Oh, what's today, wasn't it?
All right. I remember one of my first pictures that I remember seeing of Grandpa was when I was at Grandma Barr's house, and she had a picture of a baby in a dress. And I remember asking her who that baby was, and she said Grandpa, or your grandpa. And I remember thinking, that's odd, he's wearing a dress. He was dressed up almost like a girl, but that was typical of that time frame.
This happened a lot of times during your earlier days. When you're first born, you're a girl, whether you're a boy or girl, in your pictures.
Hi, Amy.
Hello. Hi, Grandpa.
Hi.
Amy, just to kind of give you a heads up, we've kind of already just started asking some questions. It is being recorded, so
Okay.
you and your family can go back and see what you've missed, but we'll just keep going.
Sounds great.
From here. Okay.
Amy.
This was one of the boys, Andrew, I think.
Was Amy was one boy.
Amy and
Andrew, yeah.
All right, Corey, did you have another question, or should we give Robin a chance?
They can jump on and have a chance. I know that they were having some playback issues. Are you guys back with us? Oh, they're muted.
Oh, that's how they like my hairdo.
Can I jump in real quick? Kiri, you've got to mute your phone. We're getting feedback from Kiri's phone, I'm pretty sure.
It is muted.
No, we hear your sound through Wendy's phone. We're still getting it.
Yeah.
I think I've had that happen to me before, where it plays back and it's a couple seconds behind. You get it twice. Is that what's happening? All right.
Don't unmute it.
Okay,
Okay.
is that better now?
Okay, Corey, go ahead and ask another question so we can have Grandpa talking while we
Okay,
figure it out.
perfect. All right, next question. What is your full name, and why did your parents give you that name?
Well, my first two names. My first two names were picked by my dad, and they were the same names as some of his friends, and I don't know who they were. But for some reason or other, he wanted me named after them,
And they are.
and they are Horace and Roldo.
And Dad told me if I ever named any of my kids Raldo, he would disown me.
I don't care for the name, but for some reason or other, he was a very good friend of my dad, and that's the way he wanted it, and that's the way he got it. Don't you like my hairdo? John.
Yeah, you do. What? There's a similarity in the hair being back, I think.
Okay. He's more good.
Is there another question?
Sorry, I didn't know I was muted there. I was asking a question. Okay, I'm ready now. What was your early life like, and what were you like as a kid?
Oh, my word. You expect me to explain that in about 5 words. What did I tell you?
You can have as many words as you want. There's no limit.
I'll let your mom repeat what I told her when she asked the question.
Well, he grew up with 5 half-sisters. Grandma, his mom, Ruth, lived in, well, her first husband was a doctor, and when she got pregnant with Victoria, he wanted to kill the baby because he didn't want
He didn't want children.
he didn't want any children interfering with his career. So she ran away, and she was living back at home in Emmons.
No, she's living back at home in Indiana.
Well, in Emmons, Indiana?
No.
In Indiana somewhere.
She's at Uncle George's place.
Okay.
That's where they met the first time.
Okay. Uncle George lived out in the middle of nowhere. There was a one-room school called the Hess School, and it had one teacher who was called Sister Ratz. And she taught all ages in that one-room school. And that's where they lived after they got married. But his dad, Everett, was working as a salesman, going house to house selling Raleigh food products. And he met her at that time, and he had lost his wife. She had died, and he had 4 little girls, Christine, Bernice, Isla, and Elizabeth. So Victoria had, I don't think she had actually had Victoria. She was pregnant with Victoria when they met. Anyway, they had a marriage. They got married. So he had 5 half-sisters. The main memory that he had of growing up was that his sisters were not particularly nice to him. He said they stood him on his head in the corner and tried to get him to drink milk through his nose. It must have been traumatic because he's reminded me of that numerous times.
Yeah, you ought to try it sometime. It's kind of strangling.
Doesn't sound fun to me.
I asked him, well, he said that some of his sisters kind of tried to protect him later, so he said Bernice was probably the nicest to him. And he said his dad felt kind of overwhelmed by having all the women in the house. Even the dog and the cat were female. So he was really, really glad to get a son, so he wasn't totally alone in a woman's world. And he did not say no to Dad a lot. I guess Dad kind of got his way with his dad. But yet, when I asked him who his best friend was, he said it was his mom. He didn't really have other friends. They lived out in the middle of nowhere, and there wasn't anyone else to be friends with until a little later in his life. He went to school 5 or 6 years out in that one-room schoolhouse, and they were living in Uncle George, who was Grandma Plummer's brother. Grandma and Grandpa Plummer lived at the foot of the hill, and what his dad, they were farmers, and things were not really going well. It was Depression time, and his dad got the idea to go dig a big hole down by the creek bottom and fill it full of horse manure, and they planted watermelons. And they had a very large, good crop of watermelons, but when they loaded them into their neighbor's truck and took them to market, they couldn't sell them because nobody had money to buy them. So they took them back to the farm and fed them to the pigs. And he tried that more than once, but Dad doesn't remember whether he ever was able to sell them. But things never went real well for him in the farming industry. About the time, if you'd gone to school there through 5 or 6 grades, you would have been 11, 12 when you moved to Louisville. Sorry. Louisville is a big town of about 30 houses.
Big town.
They have one grocery and one blacksmith shop and one post office, and that was pretty much it. But his other grandparents, Grandma and Grandpa Stockwell, I can't remember their first names right now, but Everett's mom and dad owned the blacksmith shop and about a half an acre property. They both passed away, and that's when they moved into that house. I don't think I explained Uncle George's house. The reason they were living there was because Uncle George had died, and so they could live there free rent. They didn't have to rent a house, and they didn't own a house, so they lived in Uncle George's until Grandma and Grandpa Stockwell died, and then they moved into the house where they had lived in Louisville. Then Grandpa Stockwell, Everett's parents, Dad had been a blacksmith, so Everett followed in his footsteps and was a part-time blacksmith when he wasn't trying to do other things.
Raise watermelon or sell Raleigh products.
Yeah, selling Raleigh products and raising watermelon.
And trying to raise a family. Life's not easy.
I asked what he learned, the most important thing he learned from his mother, and he said probably honesty, that if he ever got caught in a lie, he got his britches spanned pretty good. And he said from his dad, and he stopped and thought on this for quite a while, but he said to never give up, that he kept trying something, it wasn't like he just gave up and sat down. He kept trying to find some way to provide for his family. Always trying, whether he was successful or not, he never gave up. What other questions do we talk about, Daddy?
Oh, the one you asked about was about the change that Mom made to pay the paper back.
Oh, yeah. I was asking what he did that he got into trouble, and the one that came to his mind, he had a penny bank, something like that he was saving his coins in. And one day his mom needed to pay the paper boy, and she didn't have any coins, so she took some coins out of his piggy bank, but she put in a paper bill to replace them. He didn't want paper. He took it out, tore it up, and threw it away. She didn't like that very much either.
So I got my britches handy.
He said, I knew clear back then that the dollar wouldn't be worth anything. Let me think. What else did we? I know there's other things we talked about. Oh, when he was a teenager, when he went to Louisville, and they didn't have a school in Louisville, so they went to Eminence to school, and that's where Mom, Eileen, lived. And I'm going to ad lib here. Sue and I were always really impressed that Grandma was the valedictorian of her class, until we went to the school and saw there were 9 people in her whole class. Well, yes, she was smart and she was worthy of being a valedictorian, but compared to schools where we had 1,000 people in school, it didn't make quite as big of an impression. But her picture's still hanging in that school as a valedictorian. But that's where he met Mom. They both were involved in music. Dad, they had at the radio station. Where was the radio station, Dad?
Indianapolis.
The radio station was in Indianapolis, and they would go in for the amateur show 2 or 3 times a year. And Dad always played the guitar and sang Old Shep. I think he might have sang a couple other songs, but Old Shep's the one that he always talked about. And Mom belonged to a group that played the Hawaiian guitars, and they would go, and that's another place that they met. And they formed another group that they asked Dad to be part of. So there was a bass fiddle and a couple Hawaiian guitars and Dad and a guy that played the jug.
Yeah.
And anyway, they were on the amateur show in Indianapolis.
Several times.
From about the time he was 14, they started doing that.
So you were a rock star then, were you, Grandpa?
No.
But he had to borrow people's guitars up to that point. Mom bought him his first guitar. When did she buy you your first guitar?
Well, she loaned me the money to buy it so that I get in their band and be able to play on the radio.
Oh, okay.
In other words, she bought me.
When I asked him about when he got serious about Mom, he said that they had casual dating, before, but when the war came was when he went to Indianapolis and got a job in one of the war factories making batteries, and he was able to earn enough money that he felt like he could provide for her. And then he would come home every weekend and date her. And I asked him what kind of dates he went on, and he said that they went to drive-in movies. But then he explained drive-in movies weren't what we know as drive-in movies. A guy would come to town with a fold-up screen and set it up and show movies on it for free, so that all the farming people would come into town to see the free movie and then go shopping. So the town sponsored the drive-in movies. That was nothing like what we would have known as a drive-in movie. Okay, I know there was more we talked about.
Oh, yeah.
Got to ask me some other questions I might remember. What were the other questions towards the first of your list there, Corey?
One that I'm kind of, I guess this one's sort of towards the end. I'm kind of interested. Is what was Grandpa's religious experience? Did he have any religious experience in his early childhood or in his adolescence?
I was employed by our church, a Christian church in Louisville, to mow the cemetery one year. They gave me $90 for mowing the cemetery for a full year.
Which he said he would mow with a push mower and then edge around all the tombstones. And by the time he finished one round, he had to start all over again because it had grown that fast. And when he wasn't mowing the cemetery, there was an orchard next door that he could pick apples at 10 cents a bushel.
Life wasn't easy.
But that wasn't really religious experience. That was just contact with the.
That was with our church. But as far as religious experience, like the Mormon church, no, we had nothing like that then.
Did your family go to church as a family, or?
Well, we went to the Christian church. We attended, but it wasn't anything impressive.
What were your feelings or thoughts on religion as a young person?
Pretty much what they are today. I knew Christ died for us, and if we lived by His principles, that we'd be able to be with Him. One interesting thing happened when I was dating my first wife. Every time we'd go out on a date, or if you call it a date, it's just mostly free movies, she'd get sick. And I finally woke up one night and I just lit a cigarette. And she started her routine of yak, yak, yak. I says, "These cigarettes must making you sick?" And she said, "Yeah." So I rolled the window down and threw them out, and that's the last cigarette I smoked. But it cemented our relationship with glue. I was with her for 57 years. And when she had her stroke, when her time came, I took her to the doctor, of course. And they said, "You might as well put her in a nursing home, since she won't last more than 4 or 5 more years." I said, "Oh, yeah?" I said, "I'll take care of her myself. We'll see." I kept her alive 11 and a half years on my own. And in the process, learned how to take care of myself. Because I'm on the same medication I put her on. And it's not medication, it's just natural vitamins and minerals. But they're made by a company called Standard Process Laboratory.
They know it.
Yeah.
They know it.
Well, maybe not all of them.
And this guy that runs it has sent me a catalog almost an inch and a half thick of whatever product in that catalog is to be used for and how to use it. And I can call him on the phone anytime I need to get an answer on anything about the products and how to use them, what they're for. It's just been my life. I've been on them ever since I put my wife on, kept her alive 11 and a half years, and then 91. So it proves something. I'll be 92 next February the 4th.
Okay.
If I last that long. Maybe I won't, I don't know. Shame you guys ain't a little bit closer so we could get better acquainted.
Any more questions, Corey?
I think Robin and Dave had some questions. Do you want to let them have a chance for a few minutes?
Let's do that.
Okay.
All right. So, did you go over this? We missed some of the stuff because our sound was messed up. But did you give the names of all your brothers and sisters, and then describe one or more things that stand out in your mind about each of your siblings?
I can tell you their names, but they're not necessarily my siblings. They're only half sisters. My dad's first wife had Christine, Elizabeth, Iowa, Bernice. There was one more.
That's all I know.
Well, I think there was one more, but I don't remember her name. And they were my dad's first wife's children. The other was Victoria.
But she's rich.
That's a different story. My mother married a doctor when she made her move. And when she became pregnant, she found out that her doctor husband didn't want any competition with his occupation. So he was going to run a needle into her head when she was born to kill her. And she claimed she was born dead. My mom wouldn't hear from that, so she left him and went back to her parents to live. And that's where she and my dad first met, when he went there to sell the product that he was peddling door to door. Raleigh products. Flavorings for cooking. I don't know what all they did handle. They handled a lot of things that you use in the kitchen. Anyhow, when they got married, and Victoria came along, that made the sixth.
You were the sixth child.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
Elizabeth married a guy named
Henry
Klusner
from Germany.
And they only have one son named Charles. Victoria had two children. Victoria married Guy at one point, but she was married to somebody else. But she had two children, Bobby and Betty Jean. Christine married Orwell Bailey, and they have one daughter named Debbie. Isla never had any children that I'm aware of, except her dog, Bibi. She fed that dog at the table, and at one point that dog was so fat its belly dragged the ground. So Dad rescued the dog, and it lived with us until we got its weight under control. So we didn't see them a lot, but they were in his life.
How about traditions you had in your early years? Was there traditions that your family had that you remember that stand out to you?
Not really. It was Depression time and things were not very fluent. So there was not a whole lot of social activities. The biggest activity you get if you had a telephone on the wall, if it rang, I don't care who you was calling, you'd get everybody in the county to pick up the phone and see who was there. And
Party lines.
There was several little musical conflides, or whatever you want to call them, that would arise from these phone calls. Because there was a lot of country music around. That was about all there was, to tell the truth about it. And if you played any kind of an instrument or sang or danced or did anything like that, you were invited to all these things when you picked the phone up.
I asked him what he did for fun, and he says, fun? But he did finally come up with fishing. They had some activities where they would go down to the creek and go fishing. And out in the barn, there was this rope that hung down so they could hook the horses up to it and lift the bales of hay up into the loft. But it was there just free to swing on, so they would swing on that rope. That was their big entertainment.
Mhm. Pretty dull life compared to today.
So you must have probably still celebrated like some holidays and stuff. Christmas still happens even if you have the Depression. So what was Christmas or Easter or something like that like?
Well, it was most of the family. There wouldn't be a bunch of other people there, but your families would get together on Thanksgiving, Halloween, or any holiday that's come along. They'd take the opportunity together, maybe have dinner.
So
Did you
Thanksgiving
have
dinner
Christmas trees?
during the Depression, anything like Thanksgiving dinners now today?
Pretty much the same. Thanksgiving was turkey, Christmas too. Well, Christmas would be goose if you had it.
Oh.
Did you have a tree?
Oh yeah, there was trees for Christmas.
Did you go out and cut them?
Yeah, you didn't buy commercial trees back then. That was something never heard of.
Did you stream popcorn, cranberries? What kind of things did you decorate it with?
That cranberries, popcorn, whatever you could pick up anywhere else. Shells.
Alex says your tree sounded significantly more edible than ours. Did you?
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
Did you guys light real candles in it too, or
Oh yeah.
you
Oh,
put
yeah.
real candles?
It was real candles and it was fires, just like everybody else.
Did you ever have a tree burn?
No. Not to my knowledge, we didn't.
The Easter Bunny was probably non-existent at that point, or was it?
Oh yeah, he was around.
Oh yeah.
Popping all over the place.
Purple polka dot? Did the church have Easter egg hunts and things like that for the kids, or did just families do it?
Not to my knowledge, it was that. This was the Depression. They didn't spend any money that was not absolutely necessary for function for kids or whatever.
Did you say that you had grandparents that lived nearby then, or did you have very much interaction with your grandparents?
I didn't have very many years interaction. My mom's parents died fairly early. I don't know how old I was.
You were about 11 when you left the Hess school. But were they still alive then?
No, they were gone.
They were gone then. And when he left the Hess school and moved to the Louisville, or to Louisville, but went to Emnett school, they lived in the house where his other parents or grandparents had died. So they all died really early in his life.
Pretty much.
Okay, Grandpa, I know I'm kind of dark, but we had to go up to our house because we don't get good reception down at the bottom of the hill, so that's why I'm in the dark. But anyway, we wanted to kind of keep it somewhat. Oh, thanks, Gary. We wanted to keep it somewhat short. We knew that you were tired already before even getting onto this call, but we would like to try again next week and ask some more questions and do this every week if we could for a while. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, as long as I'm here.
What time do you want to set it for?
We were thinking
Robin's the furthest away, so what's the earliest they're comfortable with?
We get out of church at 4, which is 7 your time. We won't get home at the absolute soonest until 7:30 your time, and that's if we like book it out of there. and get home. So it'd be 7:30 would be the soonest that I could get there, but probably a little bit later after that still too.
Yeah. Well,
One of the things.
that's all right.
We'll keep it at that.
7:30
Yeah.
next week then. And we're hoping to invite more family to get on and make this a family event. So you may get to see more pictures next week. So we'll hopefully be able to all bombard you with lots of questions. Love you, Grandpa. Thanks for getting on.
Bye.
Well,
Amy,
I
did
love
you
all
have?
of you. But I love all of you, but it's getting me a little bit closer together.
You can review my notes that I emailed, but I just sent them. I'm not sure who I sent them to. So we'll try to send them out to everybody.
I have them, and we have a little Google document that we're putting together. So I'll add that to the Google document, and then I'll be sending that out to people. And also we'll add more questions and other things that we want to know as we go. So I'll go at that together and send it out to everybody. And Grandpa, I just wanted to express my gratitude for you doing this with us. Like you mentioned, we live so far away from each other, we haven't had a chance to really get to know each other, and so this is an experience that I will definitely treasure. So thank you, and we love you.
Well, that love goes both ways, you. Even though I don't get it associated and rub skin with you, I know you're there. And you're in my mind a lot.
Amy, did you have a question you would like to ask Grandpa?
No, because I missed too much of it. I don't know what to ask, but I'll ask something next time. I'll read through the Google Doc. What time is... So 7:30 would be what time in Utah?
That would be 5:30 our time.
Okay.
We're
No.
2
Right.
hours away.
Are
Here.
you?
2 hours.
Huh?
Got it.
I thought you were
Yeah.
only 1 hour away from Robin. You're 2 hours away from us. But from
That's what
Robin,
we're saying, Grams. We're 2 hours away from you.
so it would be 6:30, not 5:30 for Amy.
Mom, we're 2 hours from Florida. Idaho and Utah are 2 hours from Florida. Robin is 3 hours. So
Okay.
5:30
I'm
is our...
reversed. Sorry. I still got part-timers. Part of the time I can think.
Okay, so we will all be on next week, and I don't know if 30 minutes is too short. Should we do for an hour or 30 minutes? However, when you get tired, you just need to tell us that you're done.
When I get tired, I lay my head down and go to sleep.
Fair enough. All right. Well, we'll talk with you again next week then. Have a good week.
You too.
Love you
All right.
all.
Love
Love
you,
you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
guys. Bye.
What a
Bye.
mess it would be if we had them all together in one spot.
There you go.
That would be
That would be awesome.
all right. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
You too.
Bye.